Okay, good morning, everyone. Buenos dias a todos. We're going to start the webinar this morning, and today's subject is skin immunity, protection and hydration. And today's guest is Karen Ballou of Immunocologie. Karen has a really interesting background and a skincare company that is very well respected and has a wealth of knowledge on many topics, including protection and hydration. So we're looking forward to today's content and learning something new. Over to you, Karen. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you, Sarah, and I am so thrilled to be here with everyone and to share about skin's immunity and the protection and hydration. And I will say that we are in a new era in, I think, our world that is now, I want to say, part of our world. And I thought today would be a great way for us to be really communicating about what's happening with our skin, based on the fact that we've talked a lot about our body's immunity, and wanted to really talk about our skin's immunity and what does that really mean. And as a teacher in aesthetics and having had my own school and also having had my own spa, I thought it was an important message as an educator to be able to talk about this, because I think one of the parts that I have found within our community is that we do talk a lot about treatments. We talk about the protocols, we talk about how we're going to treat the skin, we look at ingredients, and we know those ingredients will be effective one way for the skin or for that particular skin condition. But what I've found is that there's a subject out there that does get lost in the translation of our skin layers. And what I mean by that is that we know that we have three layers of the skin in the sense of layers of the epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous layers of the skin. So what I thought today would be most important for all of us is to go back to that as a direct communication on how the skin, not only does it work in the sense of perform once we work on the skin, but also how the skin works from the sense of how do we protect the skin and what are we doing to hydrate the skin. So let me take you to this next slide here. And I just wanted to, of course, that is me, everyone, with my long hair. I just happen to have my hair up today. But I do want to discuss the ingredients and talk about how we're going to take the combination of our skin's upper and most important layer that we see outwardly is the epidermis, and talk about what happens underneath the skin and what happens with these ingredients and what happens with the skin's immunity and what does that mean to us. So I'm going to take you through several of these slides that are going to take us from sort of understanding right now the outermost layer of skin being the epidermis and what is happening to the skin that we are treating when we're doing a facial or when we're putting product on our skin. Now this is a cross section of the skin, as you can see here. And I thought this would be important for us because where does it all start, of course, is below the skin. So that's really where the skin's immunity is. It's below the epidermis. And we've been talking a lot about clean ingredients, how clean ingredients are better for us, how important clean ingredients are to the formation of being able to be healthier and have a healthier skin. But the first part of that is in this cross section of the skin, being that the skin epidermis is the outermost layer of skin, and we're looking to protect that layer of skin. And one of the most important things here is that as the skin does have an immune system underneath the epidermis, we are also looking to protect the epidermis from what would be considered what's going to get through the epidermis, and be it an infection of some kind, could be a virus, it could be toxins, and so forth, things that are going to cause for the body to break down. And the first line of defense is the skin. What is an open sore to the skin and we don't heal that properly happens on the skin. And so infection can set in if we don't heal it properly. So this is a conversation that we know, we learn about, but we also tend to look at this a little bit different and not think about it from the skin's immunity. But we do know that we talk about the body's immunity by what we drink, what we eat, what we put in our gut. And that's an important part here to understanding what is actually happening through the environmental side as well as the internal side of our body. So one of the parts to fighting infection, of course, is when we see here, this is what we call the furin, and what happens to be the host that when the virus seeks in, or a virus seeks into our skin, going back to that cross section of the skin that we see here, and we can see through the opening there of that infection going through the epidermis, that we want to be able to protect that barrier, and we want to make sure that the barrier is healthy. And so doing so, what we're actually doing is looking at ways that we can fight against this and what we can do to help with that host cell. And what that host cell is doing is actually creating, and a host cell is the furin here. And you'll see here, when a virus seeks to infect a host, it must first attach itself to the surface of a host cell. And to do this, it is so-called the spike, or the glycoprotein. So after binding of the virus via the glycoprotein, the intervention of the enzymes present in the host cell is mandatory to allow the virus to enter the cell, which is then infected. So the furin is the enzyme that is key for many viruses to enter into the human host cell. And so what we're trying to do is protect that barrier from that host cell, from the virus getting into the body. And we're not just talking about virus of the today, of what's happening with COVID-19. This is in any case, we're always trying to protect that epidermis. So I want to make sure that we are looking at this not as a cure, but more of a protection. So anything that we talk about today is about the protection. So you'll see here with the furin is actually, this is a cross section to show you, and you can study this a little bit more after the presentation, but the important thing here is that host cell, and we're trying to really protect the skin and fight against these infections, and that is through the host cell, and so that we don't get in to the host cell with the virus. And again, there's the protection side. So let me take you to the next slide. So one of the things here is that I've been doing a study with our French green clay that's in immunocology. And this is what got me very intrigued by this many years ago. I actually started working with French green clay 13 years ago. And when I did, I really got to understand how clay had the opportunity to give us a protection on the skin. And way back then, when I started doing this, I thought, wow, this is amazing how we could take the French green clay, we can bring it together and protect the skin. And at the same time, because clay has a capability of being antibacterial and anti-inflammatory, this becomes part of that protection to the skin. And so we're looking at things that can protect that cross section of the epidermis. And when we talk about the cross section of the epidermis, is that when we get rid of the dead skin cells that are on the layer of the skin, how deep are we going in that epidermis, and how thin are we getting that skin? Because what we don't want to do is leave the skin or the barrier susceptible to bacteria and viruses. So we have to be somewhat careful on how we work with the epidermis, but at the same time be able to correct the skin and use ingredients that are going to be absorbed into the skin that will in turn be healthy for the body. So that's again going, if you're looking at that cross section in that first slide, there are openings to the skin that make the skin susceptible to receiving some of this bacteria and also a virus. But if we're protecting the skin, then it cannot get through the skin. So that's one of the things that we want to be doing, is always looking at how are we protecting the skin's microbiome and allowing the skin to stay in a healthy state. Part of that process also, I just want to say, is about the pH. There's acidic and there's, of course, the alkaline side. The normal side of that, of the pH, is anywhere between a 4.5 and a 5.5, maybe even a 6. So when we're looking at something like the French green clay water that I started working on many years ago and now have put into immunocology, one of the things about this is that it actually inhibits the activity of the furin getting beyond. It's like a gate that's protecting it from going beyond that epidermis. So it's really helping to protect the furon to get beyond that epidermis. Now, through that process, the wearing of that and keeping that on the skin is very important. And sometimes even in a case where several applications throughout the day, how this gets absorbed into your skin is very important, but it is also the delivery system of the water to the skin. And we need to keep our skin hydrated. The more that we are causing the skin to become dehydrated, the less pliable it is, and then the more irritated it gets, and then the more the ability to actually have that skin crack and even open up. So just like when you're over washing your hands, I know a lot of you out there are washing your hands a lot, as we're supposed to, but we're also getting little cracks because we're pulling out moisture out of the skin. The clay water is pulling water into the skin while protecting that barrier. So such as that, the mist that I put together, just want to point this out, this is the mist. We'll talk about this a little later, but the mist actually allows for this protective covering to go over the skin. And I even say, not just the face, but your neck, your hands, any area that's exposed. So it's important for us to sort of look at this, and what I'm understanding better is how we are protecting that barrier, how the skin is absorbing those ingredients that are going to be healthy for the skin, but also protecting the skin. So I thought it was very important to go a little further into understanding how this is put together and how it's blended together through the taking of water and clay, cleansing that clay, leave it in the 12 essential minerals, and those 12 essential minerals are then healthy for the skin. The skin's absorbing that into the skin. Things like copper, things like zinc, magnesium, iron. These are very important to the health of our body, but also to the health of our skin. And also with those clay particles, again, protecting the skin. So through the Vital Ionic mist, we have the word ionic. And the ionic is there to create this what we call a connection between taking the water and the clay and getting it to come together so it feels like water and it looks like water, but when you get it on the skin, you can feel this firming and a tightening and hydration that occurs. So again, part of the process that we go through in my understanding was how this actually can protect the outermost layer of skin. And in doing that, it helps to, with it, free radicals, helps as an antioxidant for the free radicals. So those free radicals, we're attacking those free radicals that attack our skin. So a lot of us talk about having antioxidants in our products. Very important, because we do have free radicals. Before the COVID, we've had free radicals out there attacking our skin day in and day out. So now it's even more so important that we look for those antioxidants that are going to help push away those free radical activity that causes problems with the skin. And so through that, what we're looking to do is use things that will also be healthy for the skin, but also improve upon how the skin looks, how the skin feels. And also a lot of us look for things that are going to be about anti-aging. So things like this are going to help to protect the skin, but at the same time, hydrating the skin will also be part of the anti-aging process. Whether we're young or old, we're always wanting to either protect, we're looking to correct, and we're trying to improve our skin and maintain our skin. So hydration and protection is so to the big conversation here today. It's part of the big conversation here today, because wherever we actually leave that break in the skin, which I mentioned earlier, that's where the skin barrier gets broken, right? And so I want to make sure that I'm talking about how we protect that barrier by always looking at what happens with dry skin and how do we repair that dry skin. And the way that we do that is we need to be moisturizing the skin and hydrating that skin so that the skin from soap and water and things like alcohol that we're using in these hand sanitizer are not breaking that skin's barrier. And there's a lot of conversation today about the skin's microbiome. And this is all science. This is not about, just about the clay water. This is about the science that we're bringing to the skin and that we need to be looking at as professionals, and even those that may not be estheticians who may be listening today. We need to be looking at things that are going to invade the skin, that will invade the skin, but how do we protect the skin before it gets invaded? So this is a chart here just to show you the layers of skin and what happens when we break down the layer of skin. And you can see through this chart the different layers of skin. And here we have a very well balanced normal skin. And then we see what happens with the fraying of the dry skin of the second chart near the face. And you can see where the face starts to get raw and it gets red. And that's where we're starting to really break down on the skin. The science of the skin is about how we can protect it, but if we don't know how to protect it, and if we're not learning how to protect it, we're always going one step further to breaking down the skin and getting the skin raw. And so, especially in times like today, that we want to make sure that we're building up on that skin and not tearing it down. But if you look at that third slide, as we tear it down, we have the transdermal water loss happening. We then also have the layer of skin being broken. So barrier, that is the key here, is the barrier. And one of the things that you see on this slide up above is on the bottom, we have the epidermis, we have the dermis, and then we have the subcutaneous. And those cells always are rising to the top. And as they rise to the top and they flatten out, they get lifted off. But with too much cleaning and too much drying out, that layer starts to wear away. So what we want to be able to do is constantly be looking at what are those ingredients that are going to keep the skin hydrated and protected. And some of that protection is also called lubrication. So what I've done in looking at, and again, this is a brand that I put together 6 years ago. So I was already thinking ahead of myself here, knowing that we needed to protect the skin's barrier. And how are we going to do that? And what are going to be the most important ingredients that we can do that with and create a vitamin and mineral base with plants and with minerals to get the skin to be the healthiest it can be. So there are a lot of ingredients out there that you can choose from. And that's probably one of the hardest things, is that there's a lot of choices, and yet we need to have the best of the best. And also, how do we get this to be ingredients that we get not just from our backyard gardens, but we get from areas like the rainforest, or get from places like Africa that has amazing agriculture there as well, or from India, so that Ayurvedic aspect of it. So bringing that all together and having some of the French culture in there as well, because we do get our French green clay from France. So that's another part of it, is that we could just say green clay, but we do get that green clay from France. So I think it's very important to know that as well. So you can see here a cross section of some of these ingredients that I'm using in the product, but these are very specific to helping with the skin's barrier. And when we talk about that skin barrier, bringing the nutrients to the skin's barrier, so that we're helping with the cells, and we're helping to give the cells nutrients as it is being delivered into the skin. And when we talk about that, it's called absorption and adsorption, because clays, first of all, have the ability to bring water in and also detox the skin. And that's something that we also want to do through this process, especially during these times, is we want to bring the water in to protect, but we also want to get some of those impurities out. And the French green clay actually does take those impurities out. And that step is also part of the healthiness to the skin, bringing the toxins out, bringing the water in to protect. So looking at these ingredients across the board here, I have to say they're very delicious ingredients. From the burgundy grape seed, which you can see there is going to be really a lot about the free radicals. And then we go into our African desert date seed oil, which is going to be with our omega vitamins. It's going to give a cushion to the skin, but also bring that vitamin into the skin through through working with the clay water as our delivery system. We also have in our products the hibiscus, which I know a lot of us just love to drink that in teas, but that is a fabulous, I mean, I want to say that we all sort of love that, but from our Ayurvedic side of this, it really does promote healing, just like all of the other ingredients, looking at ways to heal the skin, or in that sense, take some of the issues that we have with skin and protect the skin. So just as in the French green clay as an anti-inflammatory, also a detoxifier, the hibiscus is there also to prevent with the hydration of the skin, and also with the traditional, what we call Ayurvedic, and the remedies of promoting and healing of the skin. It also helps with the pigment of the skin too. I love that aspect of it. One of our key ingredients in here too, it's only in 2 of our products, but it is a snail secretion filtrate, which is a very good way because of actually healing the skin, protecting the skin, but also when we talk about this from a point of aesthetic side of it, it helps with our dead skin cells that are on the skin and to renew the skin. So through that, it helps with stimulating the collagen. It also helps to protect the skin. But I love it because it helps to firm the skin at the same time, as we use that for the aspect of the peptides, and it has its own hyaluronic. So therefore, it helps to stimulate that collagen. I love it also because of the fact that it brings this kind of activity to the skin and helps to bring the skin to a fresher, new, renewed skin for ourselves, and without being disruptive to the barrier. You're going to also see with that, with the additional ingredients that we have here. I'm going to just make a little switch here because I need to. I think you can probably see, I think you can see the other side of the slide. Am I correct in that you can see the full slide? Okay, because I'm kind of seeing, oh, good, okay. I just want to make sure because my slide is showing a little bit, some of them are, a couple of them are hiding there. So you see also the baobab. I just love being able to talk about the baobab as well, because to me, that has been one of those ingredients that I love to eat it. They make a lot of great baobab treats these days in place of a lot of snacks. Now there are baobab snacks. So we get that internally, but we can also now use it on our skin. And it is just the omega vitamins that are in there, which are really healthy. And then also the way that it takes down the inflammation to the skin as well. But again, part of that process is how we're feeding the skin this nutrition and the vitamins that we're getting from these ingredients, and at the same time protecting the outermost layer of skin, the epidermis. So we know that these ingredients that are really healthy for us just internally are now healthy for the outermost layer of the skin, but we're protecting that as well. So we're also we're helping to repair that skin. We're helping to take that redness down, and through that, we're also helping to get the skin to a place where it's healthy every single day by what we're putting on it and helping to protect the skin's barrier. So again, taking this into a full range of the skin's immunity and that layer, second layer of the dermis, third layer of the subcutaneous, what's being absorbed, making sure that we don't break the skin so that infection can't get in there, but in the meantime, protecting that skin and having ingredients that will protect the skin. So what I've done is in our testing that we did on the clay, as I started to say earlier, we found that as it protects the skin, we also want to make sure that as we hydrate it, we also moisturize it. So one of the things that I did is I put together from our testing and getting these great results and understanding that we are protecting that outermost layer skin. And we are boosting that skin's immunity because we're putting things that are safe on our skin, that are healthy for our skin, and yet at the same time making our skin beautiful. So one of the keys to all of this is, I mentioned earlier, the Vital Ionic Mist. And one of the ways to use this is it's really spraying the skin. And I always love doing this. And as I do this, I get my neck and I also get my hands. And I like to use this on my hands and get it actually rubbing onto the hands, just as if you were doing a hand moisturizer. But I also take my face moisturizer and I will then take a small amount of this. And as a part of the protection package that you'll see here, is take this protection and I will actually then pat it on my skin over this Vital Ionic Mist. And as you'll notice, I'm going to rock it on the skin. I'm not going to over rub it, and I'm going to put it around my nose area and around my mouth area. So I get added protection so that those proteins, that virus or bacteria that would land on my skin will repel it. And I have the protection to repel it. So those are the two steps that you would use during the daytime. And that would be nourish and enrich the skin. So that really is kind of the combination of the Vital Mist to the actual moisturizer. But then the actual day to night side of that is, I really want you to go in with the Vital Clay Mask and get the skin detoxified, get those impurities out. And it has the clay water in it, so a little bit will go a long way. But this can also be used as a scrub, or it can be used as your mask. So you're going to put this on the skin and you'll notice that it's very creamy and it will go on very soft and gentle on the skin. If you want, though, and you want to use it as a scrub, you can do that by moving it around with a little bit of water. And even use a little bit of my mist in with that. You can use water from the sink, but you're going to go in and you're going to move that around to do a little bit of a scrub. And then if you want to leave it on as a mask, you can do that as well. You can also mix any of your cleansers with this as well and make it a creamy cleanser. But I just want to mention that in this package, not to go too far off here, just in this package to what we call the day to night package, to really go in there and protect the skin, mist, moisturize, detox the mask. So there are two different packages here. One is mist and clay mask, or one is actually the full package for protecting your skin. One of the things that we're also doing is offering a mask that is going to be for your face. And one of the things that's really great about that is to be able to have a mask. I thought it would be nice to be able to offer that to all of you. So it comes with the package, by the way. That's what I'm going to say to you. And I'm going to show that to you. Give me just 1 second here. This mask actually is going to come with all the packages. So this way you get a face mask also with this. And to me, again, part of this has been part of our brand. The only thing that hasn't are these face masks. But this comes with the package and complimentary. But again, part of the protection is, how do we work with the skin's microbiome? How do we actually go in there and protect the skin? How do we make sure that that barrier is being protected? And what are we doing every day to protect that skin? So the combination of those three things are very important. And talking about the skin's immunity and those layers are very important, so that we know that we're not getting into the skin through that barrier being disrupted. We're not getting things into the skin that is going to go into our immune system. Because the outermost layer of skin isn't where the immune system sits. It's what's going on underneath the skin that we're protecting. And that's where we're most concerned that what we're putting on our skin is healthy for our body. So with that, I just, sorry if there are questions that maybe are.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, let's open it up to questions. Anybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to write it in the chat. Si tienes preguntas y prefieres escribir en español, está bien. Karen, a question for you regarding the Ionic mist and the moisturizer. If that's something that's used throughout the day, would that be able to be applied over the top of any makeup that someone is wearing?
Wonderful question. The answer is yes. For matter of fact, prior to COVID, I recommended strongly to use it as a setting for your makeup. So yes, you would use this after your cleansing steps, spray the skin, use it before your serums, get your makeup on, and then after your makeup, I would do another spritz of that on the skin to set your makeup. And in all cases, never wash it off or never wipe it off. Let the skin, let it soak into the skin and let the skin benefit and help that to be even a better protection for the barrier. And, you know, I just want to add, this is something that I have been, doing, ever since I brought the brand out into the marketplace. Now we're really talking very serious about what's happening with the berries. So spraying this on throughout the day is a good thing. Using it over your makeup is a good thing. Keep it in mind, this helps with free radicals that do attack our skin.
Wonderful. And another question, can you show us how to apply the products for the best results?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that I would tell you is that when I put the spray on, first, this is the Vital Ionic Mist. You can see that. And so one of the things that I like to do is I like suggesting that we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and section the skin off. So when we're doing this, 1, 2, 3, 4, neck and the hands. So that's a step 1. So after cleansing, step 1 is the Vital Ionic Mist. Step 2 is any serums that you might put on your skin. But in our case, the protection package that I am recommending is the mist with the nourishing, with the protection, with the actual night protection. And this is nourishing to the skin. It's a moisturizer, and it's what I call a concentrated type of moisturizer. It's a little heavier. I'm going to take this, put it into our hands as such. And what we want to do is not over rub. A lot of us tend to over rub creams. No, we don't want to do that. We just want to gently put it into our hands, and then we're going to tap it onto the skin. And as we do that, we're going to moisturize the skin, and we're going to get this onto our skin and on top of the Vital Ionic Mist. And with this, I want to make sure we get around our nose and protect that area, the cavity of the nose and the lips. And then we're going to get it onto our neck as well. So that's step 1 and step 2. The third part to that is on a 2 to 3 times a week, I recommend strongly that you do a detox to the skin. I know we love masks, but with the French green clay and the combination of the clay water and the French green clay that's in there, what we're doing is this is the strongest of all of our clays in the earth. And what we're going to do is take some of that clay and we're going to actually get it onto the skin. And through that, we're going to apply it, a thin layer to the skin. Sarah, can you see that? Is that,
Yes.
That would normally be on your face and get it onto your face. One thing I'd like to share with everyone is in this treatment, you're going to put the mist on the skin, then put your clay mask over that, okay? So that you have better absorption and detoxification. And through that, your skin is going to glow. You're going to feel how healthy your skin is. And when you finish, you're going to go back in. You're going to spray the skin again. When you rinse it with warm water at the sink or in the shower, you're going to go back in afterwards, and you're going to use the Vital Ionic Mist, can see I made a little mess here on the bottle with my clay mask. And you're going to finish up with your moisturizer. Again, the moisturizer is a concentrated moisturizer and one that will be nicely gently patted onto the skin so you have great absorption. Has the molecules of water and oil and the clay water in there, along with our belenite oil that's in there, our burgundy grapeseed in there, our hibiscus is in there, and then we also have sunflower in there. So it gives a great way of firming the skin, hydrating, and protecting the skin. So that is our package on how to do those 3 steps: water, hydrate, and detox.
Wonderful, thanks. One more question that we have is, where can we learn more about the products?
So we can learn more about the products on immunocologie.com. That will tell you all about how we work with our different areas in the world for fair trade and our sustainable program, where we work with the Dugour Protocol. That's a very important part to all of this for me as well, to know more about what we're doing behind the scenes and how we're collecting these ingredients and how these ingredients get into the product through our fermentation and our cold process.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Karen. Really great information. And the Ionic Mist is definitely a favorite of mine. I'm going to start using it throughout the day now, as well as just morning and evening. I didn't know that I could do that, so that's really great information. We're going to come off Facebook Live, so thanks for everybody who joined via Facebook Live. And we can find more information from Karen and about Immunocologie online, and feel free to post any questions. We will be sure to get back to you.